Okay, this is I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. This relates to the bridge collapse in Pittsburgh. Now, at the top of the show, we already talked about the hundreds of bridges just in New Jersey that have the same poor rating as did the bridge in Pittsburgh that collapsed. But I want to show you just like the bottom of the barrel right-wing opportunism on this. In a segment on Fox News about the bridge collapse, Fox host or anchor or whatever, Julie Banderas, said, this is what happens when Joe Biden talks and talks about an infrastructure bill and doesn't get anything done. Now, of course, Joe Biden passed the infrastructure bill, but Julie Banderas apparently didn't know that. Notice also that everybody on screen is just kind of nodding along. You've got Kayleigh McEnany, you've got Arbiter of Ideas, Dave Rubin, and others. Take a look at this.
Fairy tales. I love fairy tales. I mean, but normally I only enjoy them when it's during a bedtime story in the evening, not on a daily basis for the past year since the White House has been overrun by Democrats. But President Biden has been making promises over promises over promises. And as you've noticed, none of them have come true. And when a president makes promises and then doesn't deliver, and then something like this where a bus, I mean, there could have been multiple casualties. So thank God nobody was killed.
True.
But honestly, a bridge collapsing right before back in June of 2021, he started talking about his bipartisan infrastructure deal.
Right.
There's nothing bipartisan about it. If it was bipartisan, it would have been passed by now. So clearly he's not getting the message across to the other side of the aisle, which, by the way, if you remember, during his campaign, he said that he was going to be the president that was going to reach across the aisle, that he was actually going to make policy.
And you see Kayleigh McEnany there nodding along. Now, that infrastructure bill did pass. The bill passed months ago. It passed in November, and it was bipartisan in that 19 Republican senators and 13 Republican representatives voted for the bill. Later, Julie Banderas tweeted that she misspoke. Now, she's since deleted the tweet because the tweet is so stupid. But her explanation was, quote, I misspoke. I was referring to the president touting the bipartisan bill back in June, and here we are today, and nothing has improved, hence the bridge collapsed. Now, it was so stupid because it takes a while to actually get that money and get contracts and distribute it. Her criticism was about Joe Biden and the passage of the bill. Now she's saying the criticism is actually that that bridge wasn't yet fixed. But Biden obviously is no more to blame for that than the fact that Trump had 4 years to do infrastructure and didn't. The bridge problems are major problems. The infrastructure problems are a disaster. I've been talking about it on the show for a decade. There's no question about that. But the initial claim and the criticism and then the explanation, it's all completely bogus. Like this is really the worst of trash politics. She makes a statement based on completely, they're not wrong facts. It's based on lies. She takes the statement back, but says, my general analysis was still good, and it's considered a correction, but it's so stupid that then she deletes it. Like this is really the worst of the worst of the worst. And unfortunately, you know, you've got these bobbleheads on Fox News, their heads on a swivel, nodding along. Even Kayleigh McEnany, who has to know that the bill had already passed, and it passed months ago, and it passed with Republican support as well. This is another one of those examples where you quite literally will have brain rot if you just listen to the analysis they put out and you believe it. Yeah, Joe Biden's to blame because he never passed that bill. Well, actually, he did pass it. He did pass it. And it, takes some time to get things done. But what about the 4 years Trump had during which he said he was going to do infrastructure and he didn't? Well, this is where we end up.